All right, if you've ever studied Japanese or spent any time in Japan, you have definitely run into this one. It's a real linguistic head-scratcher, a single word that can somehow mean both yes and no. Today we're putting on our detective hats and launching a full investigation into that word, daijōbu.
So here's the central mystery. How on earth can one word mean yes, it's totally okay, and also no, I absolutely do not need that? It feels like a massive contradiction, but trust me, this word is actually a key. It unlocks a much deeper understanding of how Japanese communication really works. So, here's our game plan for cracking this case. We're going to start with the paradox itself. Then we'll break down the 3 different faces of daijōbu. After that, we'll dig into the cultural philosophy behind it, something called Sassuru. Then we'll see it's not alone by looking at other linguistic pitfalls, and we'll wrap it all up with a practical survival guide.
Let's dive right in. Linguists have a term for words with multiple related meanings. They call them polysemous. And daijōbu is the absolute king of this concept. What makes it so fascinating and frankly so confusing is how this situation can completely flip its meaning from a positive to a negative.
Okay, to solve this, we've got to look at the evidence. Daijōbu basically has 3 different identities. The first one is affirmation. Simple enough. Someone asks if you're okay, you say daijōbu desu, and it means, yep, I'm fine. Then there's confirmation, where you're asking a question like, is this okay with you? But the real troublemaker, the one that causes all the confusion, is the third one, negation.
And this right here is the heart of the paradox. This is the trap. When a convenience store clerk asks, do you need a bag? And you reply, daijōbu desu ka? You're actually saying, no thank you. This polite refusal is what makes the word so notorious. So the big question is, why? Why does this happen?
To understand the why, we have to move beyond the dictionary and into philosophy. We need to talk about Sassuru. Sassuru is this fundamental Japanese cultural practice of, well, sensing what other people are feeling or reading the air. And this is where we uncover the motive behind all this ambiguity.
You know, it raises a really important question. Why would a language ever allow a word to mean its own opposite? It seems designed for confusion. But the answer, rooted in Sassuru, is that it's not about creating confusion at all. It's actually about preserving social harmony.
And here's the core concept that explains it all. Japan is a classic example of what's called a high-context culture. Basically, this means that communication relies way more on shared understanding and nonverbal cues than on the explicit words being spoken. The context, the situation you're in, can carry more weight than the dictionary definition itself.
So you can see how this plays out socially. A very direct no, I don't need it, something like ie, irimasen, can sound a little blunt, maybe even a bit confrontational. Daijōbu desu is the buffer. It softens the refusal. It's a gentle way of saying, thank you so much for the kind offer, but I'm all set, everything is fine as it is.
Now, you might be thinking that daijōbu is just this one weird, isolated case, but it's not. It's actually part of a much wider pattern in Japanese communication. Let's take a look at a couple of its partners in crime.
For instance, take the word Kekkō. On the one hand, it can mean something is wonderful or splendid, like a beautiful view. But if someone offers you another cup of tea and you say, Kekkō desu, you're saying, no thank you, I'm good. Sound familiar? It's working on the exact same principle as daijōbu.
But of course there are subtle differences. It's a language of incredible nuance. While they both mean no thanks, Kekkō desu feels a bit stronger, a little more final. Daijōbu desu is generally the milder, softer option of the two.
And the pattern just keeps going. Look at the word "e," which usually just means good. It can be used for simple approval, like, yeah, plan A is fine. But depending on your tone of voice, it can also signal a really strong rejection. If someone says, mo ii, with some frustration, it means something like, that's enough, or just forget it. This just hammers home how critical context truly is.
Okay, so we've examined the crime scene. We've uncovered the motive. Now it's time for the debrief. This is your practical survival guide. Here are a few solid tips to help you avoid falling into the daijōbu trap.
We've got 3 key tactics for you here. Number 1, focus on the action being offered in the question. Number 2, when you're not sure, just use concrete, specific responses yourself. And number 3, always be reading the nonverbal cues. This first tactic is the golden rule. Seriously, write this one down. If a question is asking if you want to receive an action, like, do you need a bag or should I help you,
A response of Daijōbu is almost guaranteed to mean no, thank you.
And hey, if you're still finding this all a bit tricky, don't feel bad. You are in very good company. Just look at this quote from the source author. They've lived in Japan for over 20 years and still sometimes get anxious about it. It's a lifelong learning process for everyone.
So really the biggest takeaway here is this. Getting good at Japanese isn't just about memorizing vocabulary lists. It's about developing a skill. It's the skill of interpreting the situation, understanding the relationship between the speakers, and picking up on all the unspoken intentions. It's about learning to read the air.
In the end, Daijōbu isn't some kind of linguistic mistake or a flaw in the language. It's actually the perfect embodiment, the crystallization of a communication philosophy that places a huge value on social harmony and being considerate of others. It's a feature, not a bug.
Understanding a word like Daijōbu really gives you a window into the unique beauty and complexity of the Japanese language. So that leaves me with one final question for you. What's the Japanese word that confuses you the most? Let us know down in the comments. That's all for this explainer.